Hi, I'm Russ Gala of Anderson, O'Brien, Burt Screenis, and Gala, and I'd like to talk a little bit about a very important auto insurance motorist coverage and touch on a couple of other coverages. The coverage I want to primarily talk about is what is called underinsured motorist coverage. It's very valuable because all Wisconsin requires under the law for a person to have in insurance is $25,000 of liability protection. Doesn't go very far if there is any significant injury involved. That's why we strongly recommend to all of our clients that they purchase as much underinsured motorist coverage as they can get, and that they purchase an umbrella for $1 million that will also cover liability, but make sure it also includes underinsured motorist coverage. Two other coverages that you should pay very close attention to are uninsured motorist coverage. That means when the at-fault driver has no liability protection. You should make that as high as you can and get $1 million as well, umbrella, that includes that. And then there's medical expense coverage and is available for most policies. When you look at the cost of those coverages, it's relatively cheap, much less than your liability protection. Underinsured motorist coverage is important for an obvious reason. If the other person has no liability coverage, the person who is at fault, you then can look to your own insurance company and be reimbursed up to the limits for all of your damages. Underinsured motorist coverage is as important, but it is quite tricky. The way it was originally designed and the way it was originally sold was that when you purchased underinsured motorist coverage, it would be coverage that would apply on top of the other guy's liability limits. For example, if the other guy had $250,000 and you had $1 million in damages, and you had purchased $500,000 in underinsured motorist coverage, your $500,000 would be on top of the at-fault driver's $250,000, so you would at least have $750,000 available to help you with your $1 million damages. That's the way it was started. Through a lot of lobbying efforts, it's been changed significantly. You won't even know if you have the coverage you thought you bought that's on your deck page. It'll tell you, declarations page, it'll tell you the limits that you bought. You won't know if you have any, and you definitely will never collect the amount of your limit. The reason for that is primarily underinsured motor vehicles and underinsured motorist coverage is only triggered when you have more. Your limit of liability is greater than the at-fault driver's limit of liability. So if the at-fault driver has a $250,000 policy and you have a $250,000 of underinsured motorist coverage that you paid for nothing. You don't get any, you have no underinsured motorist coverage. If you bought $500,000 and the other at-fault driver has $250,000, you only have $250,000. That's why I say you will never get what you thought you were purchasing based upon the limit of liability. That is not true for your liability coverage. If you buy $500,000, you get $500,000. If you buy $1 million, you get $1 million. So please keep that in mind, and as I said, please purchase as much as you can of uninsured, underinsured, and medical expense coverage because it is usually exceptionally cheap. Thanks for listening, and I hope this helps.